Hello, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about these child, allegations with the MrBeast Feastable brands. I mean, try to say that 3 times fast. Try to say that one time fast. MrBeast Feastable brand. It's 1,000 things, 10,000 trillion things happening all at once over here in the MrBeast verse. But sometime in the last couple weeks, it was revealed, it started to be talked about that the Feastables chocolate bar company, not only does it have its own problems we already talked about, the naming, the branding, the ingredients, the gambling game, all of that, but apparently also it is now being alleged that the way that Mr. Beast and Reed Dukeshker and the rest of them are meeting the astronomical demand for this candy bar is some pretty unethical means of production. So y'all have probably all heard about this, but I did find a couple of things in the public record. Y'all want to see my Mr. Beast folder? This is my Mr. Beast folder. What are the folders you're wondering? I know you're wondering. James Warren Miscellaneous, Family Tree, Grandfather Mountain, Miscellaneous Lawsuits, Lakoya Hill, Mr. Beast County Filings on Properties, Mr. Beast Burger, Mr. Beast Crypto, Mr. Beast YouTube LLC, Mr. Charity Filings, PDF Files on Set, Rubber Duck Company, Rubber Duck Media, Sue Perisher, and Windfall Formula LLC. Feastables. Okay. So the reason I'm talking about these child allegations. And when I say I mean labor. It's just that y'all know how it is out here. So the reason I'm talking about these allegations, I'm not really trying to add more commentary voice to people are already doing that. I found some stuff in the public record and I haven't seen people talk about it. But in order to kind of follow the story through, I do want to lay it all down here on this channel. Okay. So this guy right here, Dan, I think is how you say his last name. He posted this video and I want to react. I know a lot of people have posted about the allegations, but this person right here actually seems to have posted it first. This video right here, Ahnestly, I think his name's Dan, because he seems to have broken the story. Also, he commented on one of my videos saying, look, listen, I think my video is getting surprised. I don't think it's getting the views it needs. So can you please try and boost this story? I got you, Dan. I got you. So let me pull that up. If you hear the banging, they're literally fixing my porch right now. It needed to be done. Sorry. I really don't know what to tell you. That's that work from home life. Okay.
I've been tracking all the MrBeast accusations, and while some are worse than others, I think this one is by far the worst. In this video, I'm going to try to prove 2 points. The first is that MrBeast and Feastables is using child labor and forced labor for their chocolates and has been since around late 2023. And the second point is more damning. I believe that since the beginning of Feastables, MrBeast knew that he was going to use child labor and forced labor for his chocolates, but he tried to fool us into thinking otherwise.
Okay, he's going to try to prove 2 main points. I have watched some parts of this video. I think probably combined, I've watched most of this video. I haven't sat and looked at and watched the whole thing. I think I had to play in the car the other day. So it is going to be a little bit like a reaction and commentary. And then eventually, like I told y'all, we are going to get into few of these findings that I did also come across having to do with the management and the organizational structure of Feastables. That might be for another video whenever we really dive into it. But Dan is going to try to prove 2 points. He's going to try to prove, number one, Beast Feastables is definitely using children and enslaved people to make their chocolate treats. And 2, they've been planning on doing this the whole time. All right, Dan, take it away.
Look, I review chairs, home office tech, and gaming stuff.
I need to do a chair consultation. Dan, please hit me up at ThatSurpriseWitness@gmail.com because I'm in the market for a new chair. The chair I have right now is great, but it's getting a little old. I've had it for several years and it's too big. It's too big. It's too heavy. I'm small. I need something that's a little smaller, like maybe that one that you got to the left behind you, our left, where I'm looking at right here. What I will say is that one on the right looked like it cost about $2,000 or something. I mean, I don't have that kind of budget, but hit me up, Dan, because I need a small chair. These chairs are too big. They make them too big for tall people.
I think I found some damning stuff about Feastables that I thought you should know. Let's first talk about chocolates and child labor.
Have you ever seen the numbers of people?
Okay, so now he plays some clips from Joe Rogan and John Oliver. Both of those enterprises are very particular about copyright claims. So I'm going to fast forward this and probably transform it a lot, but I will leave Dan's link in the description box down below. And I do encourage y'all to go over there, watch his video, show him some love, tell him I sent you, be nice, have some home training over there and all that.
That are working working in chocolate that are working in like horrible conditions?
About 20 years ago, a series of news stories and a documentary found that young children, some of whom had been enslaved or trafficked, were working on cocoa farms that supplied major chocolate companies.
If you walk by a chocolate store, you never say, "Oh, child labor."
Oh yeah, a lot of kids die for that chocolate you're giving for your.
A lot of little tiny unformed bodies are being forced to dig holes in the ground.
Like many other industries, chocolate is notorious for its exploitation of children using child labor and slave labor. They use child labor, forced labor.
I've heard this before. And there's like a big 5 or a big 3. It's like just a couple companies, 3-5 companies owns all of the major chocolate manufacturing in the world. And in order to produce that much chocolate, they do get involved in some unethical, this is the allegation. I've heard this. I mean, I never went out there and looked, but I've heard these allegations, right? That it's unethical. I've heard this about cacao. I've heard this about diamonds. You know, there's different industries that are kind of notorious for it. And I definitely have heard before that it's like, generally these big chocolate companies are not using ethical labor and production practices. I've heard this. I don't know. I've never been.
Unsafe conditions to farm these cacao beans that eventually makes its way to become chocolates at your table. And oftentimes these farmers, they are too poor to ever even eat the chocolate itself. Case in point, Feastables is made in Peru, but guess where it's not sold? Peru.
He has been waiting for a long time to try MrBeast Chocolate, but it is not available in his country. He went straight from the airport to Walmart to get
He's cute.
This exploitation is well documented, and brands such as Hershey's and Mars, and perhaps we're going to see Feastables today, are notorious for refusing to eliminate child labor and slave labor from their supply chain of chocolates. With that being said,
I've heard that before. I don't know if it's true, but I have heard that alleged.
Try to prove my first point, that MrBeast is using child labor and slave labor for his chocolates today and has been since late 2023. When Feastables first launched.
Okay, so now he's on to his first point. Remember, he told us he was going to try and prove 2 points. He was going to try. First one he was going to try and prove is that he's been using this type of labor since 2023. He's on to that point now. So he first started out by saying, look, listen, this is not a secret in the chocolate industry. So now with that context in mind, let's move forward to trying to prove the first point, which is MrBeast's been using this type of labor in the chocolate manufacturing process since October 2023, which is about a year ago, 10 months ago.
If you went into the FAQ, the frequently asked questions section, they proudly displayed that they were child labor free and slave labor free. As a matter of fact, in April of 2023, they doubled down and they added to their list of main menu options this option that said we're slave free.
So I did have occasion to pull up the Wayback Machine and I was able to check it. I'll show y'all what I found right here. I am on the Feastables FAQ page and this is from March 2023. See up there at the top, March 15, 2023. And sure enough, it sure does say that. Is there any forced labor involved in producing your cocoa beans? Well, and it's not just producing, right? They got to harvest them. I mean, I think that's a lot. That's a big part of it is the harvest. So it says June 14, 2022, 10:24 a.m. Farms certified with the Rainforest Alliance are not allowed to use any child labor. And by being a certified partner, we can ensure the farmers are being treated correctly. Respect for community rights, including the rights of indigenous peoples, is a core value of Rainforest Alliance certification. I mean, right off the bat, I noticed that it doesn't say it's a core value of MrBeast. It doesn't say the core value of Feastables. And I mean, look, listen, y'all, whenever you are making a candy bar for the biggest YouTuber in the world, every single sentence gets thought put into it. Okay, I will say that. But yeah, I just wanted to show y'all I was able to confirm at least some of what our guy Dan is saying over here. So let's get back to what he is saying.
It had an entire dedicated page talking about how they were free of slave labor and child labor. But just a few months later, in October of 2023, that main page item that said we're slave free, that was removed. In addition, in the frequently asked questions section, that stuff about being child labor free and slave labor free, that stuff also disappeared. Later in May of 2024, and even to this day, there's no mention whatsoever at all about any kind of ethical sourcing of ingredients.
Okay, so that's the first little round of evidence that he does give us. The first round of evidence for his first point is the website. The Feastable website used to say really clearly, very clearly, we are slave free. And there was a few different places, a few different times that the Wayback Machine had archived that. And Dan is saying it don't say anything about that anywhere in any of those spots anymore. Okay, that's something. Let's see what else he's got.
If you're thinking, oh, it's a mistake, or maybe they forgot, I think the chances of this being true are less than 0.001%. You see, Mr. Beast prides himself on hiring the best of the best, and there is no way marketers would forget to put this kind of information on.
I would agree. I don't think it was accidentally deleted. I think it was on purpose deleted, but the question becomes why?
Their website, because it would boost their brand favorability in the eyes of consumers. It's likely then that MrBeast is now using child labor and forced labor for Feastables chocolates. This is especially bad because it means that MrBeast and the Feastables team were very aware that child labor and forced labor exists in the chocolate industry.
Right. It does show that they were aware that it existed and that they were, at least to some extent, aware that people cared about it. Because again, it's very important to me. I know some of y'all are going to say I'm nitpicking, but they also said I was nitpicking whenever I was making the best grades on all the tests and things in my life. So, I mean, some of us are here to do just that. Okay. And for me, it's very important that in particular, this company at this high of a level didn't say it was an important part of their brand mission. No, they said it's an important part of whoever Rainforest Alliance is. And here again, it's like we're listed by Slave Free Chocolate and believe that with over 60% of the world's cacao beans produced in West Africa, it's essential to combat the unethical labor practices that exist in this industry. Okay, look, yes, it shows that they knew that there were unethical labor practices in the industry.
And yet decided to take advantage of the most weak and the vulnerable among us for personal gain. This is a bad look for any company, but it's worse for MrBeast because he puts on these large public displays of being a philanthropist.
Agreed.
Now, my second point is more damning. I think MrBeast knew the entire time, since the beginning of Feastables, that he was going to use child labor and labor for his chocolates, but he tried to trick us into thinking otherwise. To try and prove my point, I'm first talk about the Feastables packaging, and then I'm going to talk about the kosher and halal certifications.
So the first point was that he's been using child labor since October 2023, and the evidence that he used for that so far was just the website. Now, I do think that it does create a strong presumption that probably something happened where they couldn't say that honestly. That being said, I think personally, I would need a little bit more proof to know for sure that he was, or that the candy bar company was using those practices. But Dan is going to move on to his second point, and he's going to say this was always the plan. So let's see what evidence he presents here.
Feastables, it was in line with his brand. They were clearly trying to do things ethically. They actually got a certification from the Rainforest Alliance. The Rainforest Alliance has major issues, but they push for protecting and improving forests, climate, human rights, and livelihood. Once you're certified, you're able to use their logo, which is a little frog, on all of your products, your website, on all of that stuff.
Okay.
When I saw the packaging for Feastables, both old and new, there was no Rainforest Alliance certified logo anywhere.
Okay, that's interesting. So when they launched the brand, the website said they were a member of the Rainforest Alliance, but the wrapper did not say that. Okay. And so Dan is saying it never had this little rainforest frog on it. And why wouldn't you put the rainforest frog on the packaging? I don't know. I would need to have more information on, does anyone put the rainforest frog on their packaging? I'm sure they do. It sounds like he's saying they do. Let's listen further.
Now, why would these brilliant marketers choose to leave that off?
I do have that question. I am wondering.
That would, again, boost your brand favorability in the eyes of consumers. The only conclusion that I can think of is that MrBeast knew. He knew that one day they were going to get rid of that certification. You see, if you one day that package has a frog logo on it and the next day it disappears, people will notice. They will especially notice because
people will notice. Case in point.
The Feastables bar, MrBeast sent this thing to everyone, to all the huge YouTubers. He ran competitions. He got people to take selfies with it, take pictures on the shelves. This thing has a paper trail 10,000 miles long. And again, if one day it had that frog and the next day it was missing, people were going to notice. So
I do think that is a possible explanation. For me, this is another one where it's like, it could have another explanation. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about this industry. So let's hear more.
Instead, they decided to only put it on their website because at the end of the day, who the hell reads a website except for weirdos like me? And if it was on the website one day and then gone the next, no one would notice except for, again, weirdos like me. And sure enough, if you look at their website today, there's nothing about the Rainforest Alliance certification, nothing about being child labor free, nothing about being slave labor free. By doing it this way, I think they tried to fool everyone into thinking that their chocolate is still child labor free and slave labor free. At the very beginning of their launch, they kind of made a big deal about it. Not enough, not a huge holler, so that it was integral to their brand, but just enough.
Okay, so Dan puts up a little written disclaimer here, and it says, asterisk, as far as we can tell, MrBeast has never mentioned ethical sourcing, child labor free, free when promoting his chocolate in videos. He's only ever had it on the website. Okay, that's interesting to know.
If you Google Feastables child labor, all the articles are from their initial launch and they talk about how it is those things, but now it's nowhere to be found and nobody has noticed. As a matter of fact, if you look.
Okay, that is a great point, Dan. Thank you. Not that the other points weren't good, but this one it's feeling more like, oh yeah, I can't think of a lot of arguments against that one. It's not lost on me that Jimmy Donaldson himself has said many times that he was obsessed with search engine optimization. Okay. And spent years studying it religiously and learning how to, go viral and stuff like that. So it wouldn't come as a surprise to me that he does do stuff from time to time for specifically that purpose. It wouldn't come as a surprise to me to learn. It wouldn't come as a surprise. I'm not saying he's doing it. Okay. But it wouldn't come as a surprise to me to learn that James Stephen Donaldson, aka Jimmy, aka the MrBeast face, and his management company was using their acquired SEO knowledge in order to manipulate search results. Okay. So maybe that could explain it to me. What Dan is saying. Yeah, they did all that free stuff because the first batch they made was free. And then they wanted whenever anybody typed in, is MrBeast ethically sourced? Is MrBeast Feastable ethically sourced? Is MrBeast fair trade? Is MrBeast child slave free? All that what would come up were those 2022 articles where they could reasonably say that they were using ethical production means for the candy bars, but they always knew that they weren't going to be able to keep doing that.
Slaveryfreechocolates.org, which is a website that promotes various chocolate brands that are ethically sourced. Feastables remains on that list, despite no longer meeting the requirements to be on that list. As far as I can tell, not a single person or website has picked up on this change.
So Dan is saying, if you just go to the Google, it sure does say slave free and all of that. And if you go to slavefreechocolate.com, it still has Feastables listed there. But as far as I can see, there really is no current proof that they are ethically sourcing and producing their chocolate. He's saying it might be a little cover up. They might have just kind of did little little bait and switch. And now even the biggest leaders of the industry, including slavefreechocolate.com, aren't even caught on to it yet.
Which is why I'm making this video.
Okay.
The second reason why I think MrBeast knew that he was going to use child labor and slave labor is because of the kosher and halal certifications.
Okay.
This one requires a
I'm curious to see where you're going with this one, Dan.
little bit of stretching, but in June of 2023, Reed Dukester, I don't know how to say his last name, MrBeast's former manager, Reed.
I'm glad he's talking about this because I got a video coming on this. There was a lawsuit. The girl, I can't even get into it today.
Who is still sitting on the board of Feastables.
Yep.
He did a tour of the MrBeast chocolate factory in Peru.
Okay.
And that video isn't all that important except for the very end, where he thanks Machu Picchu Foods for the tour.
Thanks to Machu Picchu Foods for having us. We literally got to see everything from how cocoa is created to how we create MrBeast bars.
This tells us that Machu Picchu Foods is or was the manufacturer for Feastables.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Machu Picchu is also Rainforest Alliance certified.
Mm-hmm.
They're also kosher certified and halal certified. But here's the thing. Feastables has never, since its very beginning, ever been kosher certified or halal certified. How is that possible when the manufacturer are both of those things? Now, you might be thinking maybe it's because Machu Picchu Foods does some of it and then someone adds stuff to the chocolate later. However, in that video with Reed, they actually show that Machu Picchu Foods, it seems like, takes it from cacao bean all the way to packaged candy.
Okay.
Why is it that the manufacturer says their chocolates are kosher and halal, but Feastables says it isn't? Well, I think this line from Reed has something to do with it.
It's pretty wild. We have 4 chocolate lines going, so we can't keep the demand. So we need way more chocolate.
I think MrBeast knew all along that they would have to scale. And when they scaled, they were going to move away from Machu Picchu Foods. That means away from their halal certification, away from the kosher.
So 2 points. First, quick point. It doesn't necessarily mean that they moved away from Machu Picchu Foods. Machu Picchu Foods might still be making Feastables, but the fact that all of the Feastables chocolate bars do not come from there means that maybe something else is going on, which is the larger point that he's making here. Reed is over here with his lunch lady outfit on, when his mask and everything else in the chocolate factory going, we have 4 chocolate lines going and we just don't have enough. We need more. We need more. And that is something that I notice about this whole MrBeast enterprise and all of the lawsuits. I mean, I'm probably done read 15 lawsuits having to do with Feastables, MrBeast, Jimmy Donaldson, Night Media, A3, all these different ones. Beast Burger, especially, got a whole investigation coming on that. What a lot of them have in common is this bigger, faster, more, harder, stronger, now, more, we need more, more money. It's like this mania of just like, no matter what, we just got to do more, faster, stronger, harder, bigger, better, biggest YouTuber, best YouTuber in the world. Like, maybe, some people just sell out. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But it's like, it's a racket. I mean, it's not really necessarily because, like, if it is, then every business is. But, like, creating a demand for something based on false or at the very least, misleading marketing statement like, oh, slave free, and then like 5 minutes later, no, you're not, or oh, it's so healthy, and then 5 minutes later, no, it isn't, you know, and all of that. It's like you create the demand for it. You create the demand for it. And then whenever you can't fulfill the demand, instead of saying, well, this is the best we can do ethically, you say things like, well, I guess we got to start making children do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I notice here. It happened with Beast Burger. It was like, we need more restaurants. We need to open 300 in a day. It's like, but they didn't have 300 restaurants to open. So that's how you end up in a situation where 7-Eleven was making Beast Burgers. Yes, we're going to talk about that. But y'all see what he's saying now? He's saying, look, listen, Mr. Beast is no stranger to selling things. He knows how big and crazy the demand is going to be. He knew people were going to want to buy 1 trillion of these chocolate bars, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to make them all from the Machu Picchu chocolate factory. He knew he was going to have to do like Hershey's does, like Mars does, like the rest of them are doing. And if he wanted to compete at that level, if he wanted to create that much chocolate, he was going to have to either be working a lot of overtime himself in the chocolate factory, he was going to have to come up with some different, less ethical ways. I mean, he's not going to raise the price because then the kids ain't going to buy as many, you know? So it's like the kid customers are more important to him than the kids that are making the chocolate. I mean, I really don't know. So I do agree with Dan's point. It does seem like, I don't know. We don't know. We weren't there. But it does seem like this was always considered. And it does seem like it was possibly, in my opinion, I don't know, I wasn't there, but it does seem like it was possibly a little bit of a misleading marketing rollout, because when you roll it out, you can say, oh, look at this small batch Machu Picchu Rainforest Alliance, free, child labor free chocolate factory. Oh my God, look how cute we are. But then in that same video, Reed, who is on the board of Feastables and also, let me not get too ahead of myself, but has a lot to do with the IP for Feastables. He's telling you there's not enough, that they cannot keep up with the demand and they need more. They need more. So what happens when you run out of the small batch chocolate factory production lines? Well, you probably got to go where the big boys go. And where are the big boys at? And what are they doing? Well, I think we learned at the beginning of this video.
Certification away from the Rainforest Alliance certification. And that's why they chose to omit these things from their packaging. Because if one day it was kosher and halal and the next day it wasn't, then people might start to ask questions as to why. And when they ask questions as to why, they might also discover that, you know what else has been changed? The stuff about child labor free and slave labor free. Why would MrBeast do all this? The simple answer is money. MrBeast has
strongest point of the video right here.
been shy about telling the world that Feastables was created to fund his videos. And he has also never been shy about complaining about sponsors and how he felt like he wasn't getting paid the adequate amount for sponsors. This is why he created Feastables and why he promotes Feastables in every single video and every opportunity he gets. But if you're constantly selling out of chocolates, like MrBeast has posted he has multiple times, that means no more money. I think MrBeast knew all along that this was going to happen, so he prepared for it in advance. When he first launched Feastables, he played up just enough. He played up the card of being slave labor.
And you know what I also think makes Dan's point stronger is, I think I mentioned it earlier, but it has to do with the healthy ingredients. Like whenever MrBeast, Donaldson, Jimmy, Reed, whoever it was, Night Media first launched Feastables, I remember, you know, I've been researching this MrBeast verse for like over a month now, but I remember reading somewhere that he started off with like certain ingredients that were like more like fair trade or just a little bit healthier. And then he changed the ingredients at some point after advertising over and over that was supposed to be like a healthier alternative to the crappy ingredients in the Hershey's chocolate or whatever. And it's like, then he had changed the ingredients after that. And if that's true, then I think it actually strengthens Dan's point, which is this candy bar is really no different than a Hershey's bar as far as the ethical sourcing and production of the candy and as far as the health ingredients of the candies or whatever. So it's like, is it possible? To me, is it possible? Let me ask myself a question. Is it possible that this was just a marketing ploy to make people consider that this literal candy bar was something else other than literally a candy bar? No different than Hershey's. I believe it could have been. I believe it could have been nothing but a marketing ploy, and I believe it could have been intentional. Yes, I do. And I do believe that they are probably, and this is my belief, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I do believe they are probably using that type of labor. I think so. I don't know. I wasn't there. I have no idea. It's a psychic vision from the Lord. Maybe it's schizophrenia. I don't know.
Child labor free just enough so that people would notice, but not enough that it became integral to his brand. And then slowly, quietly, he activated the plan to move away from those things, to take advantage of the weakest and the most vulnerable among us, hoping no one would notice. But I noticed, and I hope that the whole world notices now.
Honestly, Dan definitely noticed. And even if Dan isn't 100% right, even if his theories or his guesses turn out to be not exactly accurate, I do think that he has formed his opinions and his thoughts, which he's very clear that it's opinions and thoughts. He's very clear it's all allegations. He don't know. He keeps saying, I think. I definitely do think Dan is onto something. And I think that his opinions are well-founded. He did provide the evidence and the information that he relied upon in coming up with his opinions. It's all public. So I could definitely see that happening. Now, I do want to take this opportunity just to give a little bit of a lead in to another topic I'm going to be talking about soon. I don't know if it'll be next. Maybe it'll be next. It has to do with Feastables. And we've already talked a little bit about Feastables because we were discussing who is in charge of Jimmy's money, right? Who is in control of MrBeast, the person, the brand, whatever. Feastables incorporated in Illinois, Chicago. I mean, it was incorporated originally 2021 in Delaware, but then they had incorporated also in Illinois. And on here, remember that guy Reed who was in the chocolate factory with the mask and the lunch lady outfit and all that? He is listed on the first annual report ever for Feastables. He is listed as a director, right? He's listed as a director. Hello? Okay. You're welcome. All right. Reed, the man with the mask and all that on him and all that. Originally, he was Jimmy's manager from Night Media. And his name sure is right here as a director of Feastables from 2022. And it even has like paid and par value stocks, like common stock issued to these people. But what I find interesting is that Reed is listed on the first page here of Feastables as a director. And it's not even until the second page they finally list Jimmy. So it's like, listen, there's as much blame to go around to James Donaldson as the next person, I really think. But I'm just, everywhere I look, whenever I'm actually looking at this stuff and people are trying to blame Jimmy for stuff, I'm looking and legally he isn't responsible. Like, yes, he is in this particular case because he's listed as a director. But whenever I look over at the Feastables intellectual property, for example, it's owned also by Night Media. What? Now, this brings me to my final point, which is going to have to lead into the next video. That's not what today's video is about. But the next video or the next video I make on this topic, another video I make on this topic in the future soon, is going to be talking about this because there was a lawsuit filed against Night Media by another talent agency called A3 Media Productions or something. And Night Media, the company that Reed Dukesker works for and the company that was MrBeast's talent management or whatever, they got sued last year by A3 Media for unlawfully, quote, unlawfully operating as a talent agency. Now, again, this is not about the child, whatever allegations, but it relates to the Feastables company. And what the allegations are in that lawsuit by A3 against Night Media is that Night Media is breaking the law by not following the California Talent Agent Act or whatever. And part of the California Talent Agent Act, it puts rules on a talent agent. Specifically, one of the rules is that there's some type of oversight on the contracts that they're entering into with clients. There's a bunch of other stuff. We will get into that lawsuit at a later date. I'll talk about it at a later date. But a very obvious question starts to arise here, which is, did Jimmy Donaldson maybe get into some business deals, into some partnerships with some people very, very early on who are putting their own interests, aka money, without giving very much consideration to Jimmy Donaldson, the human being, the person, the reputation of him? Now, again, I started this whole little thing off by saying, I think there's plenty of blame to go around to Jimmy Donaldson, but I don't think it's particularly fair or accurate to only look at Jimmy Donaldson whenever it's clear and obvious to me that he was a child below the age of 18 whenever he started becoming a very popular YouTuber. And there were a lot of adults who have a lot of involvement in his business, even to this very day. And I'm not talking about advising him. I'm talking about ownership. Okay. I'm talking about owning the intellectual property, the copyrights, the trademarks. Okay. Sue Perisher, she has her part to play. Yes, she does. Now, hopefully, what you're about to do, check the live chat if you're in the live chat right now. But hopefully what you're about to do right now is stay where you are if you're in the live chat, and you're going to be redirected right on over to BJ Investigates for Mr. Beast the movie. Highly anticipated, long awaited, okay? Check the live chat right now. If it is happening, because I thought it was happening yesterday and some unforeseen circumstances arose. And look, listen, I don't like telling y'all that I'm going to do something on a certain day and then I don't do it. But I also don't like putting out things before they are finished. So might have jumped the gun a little bit. That's why I'm being a little bit flaky on them. I think right now at 11:17 a.m., I believe that it's coming out today. Okay, so that's all I really had for today. Make sure you do go check out MrBeast, the movie. It is the biggest project of the year. It might be the biggest project I've ever worked on outside of things that affect me personally, you know, like personal. Like when Britney Spears' business manager tried to hire my law firm and create a fake conflict so that I couldn't talk about her anymore. Right, like I worked on those stories, you know, really hard. This might be the biggest project I ever did on YouTube, okay? So make sure you go over there and you watch MrBeast, the movie, and hopefully it don't get but if it does, I'm putting in that's all I have for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it, okay, bye. Welcome into my world. You're playing my game. Thought that you could come up and they're fitting off of my name. Talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof, inflame. Kids these days so shameless. Selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though. I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I ain't no Colleen ukulele ballanger. Shots been fired. Run and tell that. Say it to my face though. Now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in the group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. Ask me though how it all turned out. When you try to use my name for clout, keep on going. Give you something you could talk about. Hello, everybody. Make sure you head over to BJ Investigates to see MrBeast, the movie. Love you, Minnie. Goodbye.